All right, so in my continuing effort to alert you to the evils of the WEF, I want to connect a few dots for you, including the most recent one. All right, so let's get to it. This is the Hey Ed YouTube channel, and I am your host, moderator, and all-around nice guy, Edward Anderson. And today is be kind of a meaty one. Now, I always try to keep things nice and as concise as I can, but I am going to be throwing up a few slides to help bolster my arguments and to prove my case. All right, so let's get to it. So I want to start out by showing you a clip of Klaus Schwab, and this is a very revealing clip. These days, they're not trying to hide things anymore. They are out in the open. They are bold. And this clip really demonstrates the arrogance of Klaus Schwab and the WEF. And by the way, I'm going to be calling the WEF from now on WEF because the algorithm picks this stuff up, and I don't want to be, believe it or not, the WEF is a protected organization apparently. So I got to be careful with what I say. So I'm going to be calling it WEF. All right, let's take a look at this clip.
When you brought the Young Global Leaders Program here for executive education and the Schwab Fellows, but there are two countries in the world now in which the young global leaders have emerged. Tell us just a bit about that in terms of the governance.
Yes, actually, this notion to integrate young leaders is part of the World Economic Forum since many years. And I have to say, when I mention now names like Mrs. Merkel, even Vladimir Putin and so on, they all have been young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. Mm-hmm. But what we are very proud of now is the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I know that half of this cabinet, or even more half of this cabinet, are actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
Okay, did you hear that word? Penetrated. He's very proud. He's bragging about how they have penetrated all of these governments around the world. And it's true, they have. And piece of evidence number one is this guy, Trudeau, Pierre Trudeau of Canada. This is the man who has become basically a dictator in Canada. This is the man who last year, during the truckers' peaceful demonstration against mandatory vaccines, froze the accounts of hundreds of thousands of innocent, peaceful Canadians. Anybody who was part of that protest or supported the protest had their bank accounts frozen. And he made it impossible for truckers who participated in that convoy to get insurance. So they were out of business. This man is a dictator. This man, I mean, to say he's a socialist that's a given. But this man he is pursuing dictatorial powers. And this man was a young leader of the world of WEF, right? And one piece of evidence to the fact that this man is a stooge of WEF is this development. The World Economic Forum Biometric Digital Identity Project was given $106 million by Trudeau's Canadian government. Now, of course, one of the biggest, most obvious pushes by WEF is their push toward this green environment. And for example, this statement, "My carbon, an approach for inclusive and sustainable cities." Now, this is a term you hear an awful lot being repeated by all these government officials. They want the policy to be inclusive and sustainable. In other words, what they're saying is, as long as you agree with our green policies, you're in the club. If you're not, you are outside the club. Now, they just had a new meeting going on called Davos in the Desert. I think it was in Saudi Arabia or something. And take a look to their opening welcoming statement to, to this group of people meeting in Davos. All right. "Welcome to the new global order." Now, I'll let you read that paragraph, on your own. But apparently, they got the memo that the new world order was not going over very well. So they changed it to the new global order. But these people are dictators, fascists, socialists, and they want to spread their message throughout the world, and they're doing it successfully. Look at the ESG scores. ESG, if it's not in your country, it's coming to a neighborhood near you. Okay, so they want to turn every Western country into the same kind of police state that you see in China, where everything you do in your life reflects on your social credit score. This is real dangerous stuff, and we have to stand up to it. The first part of standing up to it is you have to be aware of it. If your bank uses ESG scores, fire your bank, get out of your bank and find one that does not. And as further evidence to the penetration that is being achieved by the WEF, let's take a look at New Zealand. New Zealand farmers protest world's first livestock burp tax. So in New Zealand, the prime minister there implemented what is being called the fart tax. They're polite in that article, but most of the protesters call it a fart tax, where they're taxing the farmers for the methane produced by their animals. And the farmers were up in arms. Traveling in convoys of tractors and pickup trucks, farmers in New Zealand have gathered in cities and towns across the country to protest against the government's plan to be the first country in the world to tax emissions from farm animals. Lines of tractors of the farmyard vehicles disrupted traffic in Wellington, Auckland, Christchurch, and other cities on Thursday, with the protesting farmers demanding that the country's center-left government back away from the so-called burp and fart tax. And who is behind this burp and fart tax? Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern unveiled plans last week for the world's first levy on agricultural gases and biometric methane, which mainly comes from burps produced by New Zealand's estimated 6 million cows and 26 million sheep. Ardern has argued that the tax is needed to slow global warming and could even benefit farmers if they can command a higher price for more climate-friendly meat. Well, yeah, the prices are going to go up because there are fewer of them. It's supply and demand, but the farmers are not happy about it, and they shouldn't be. None of us should be. They're trying to change our lives, and it's all coming from the WEF. And so what's her connection to the WEF? There you go. Another member of WEF. Okay, there you go. Jacinda Ardern. This is, I got this off of the World Economic site. So there we have another world leader, right? We have Trudeau, we have Ardern, we have the president of Argentina, as Klaus mentioned, and to demonstrate even further the WEF's evil plan to change our lives, fundamentally and forever. Take a look at this. In recent years, we have witnessed a sharp upsurge in the attempt to find viable alternatives. Classic vegan and vegetarian meat replacements have been standard feature on our supermarket shelves for several years, of course, whilst insect-based meat replacements, while available, occupy a relatively niche position. More recently, the search has found its way into our laboratories, and startups like Impossible Foods, Just and Beyond Meat have brought novel vegan meat replacement, a plant-based product category that imitates the sensory profile of meat to the table. So they are bioengineering our new source of food. Okay, they don't want you eating real meat. They want you eating plants and insects. That's their big plan for all of us. I don't know about you, but I'm not particularly interested in eating bugs, and I don't care how pretty of a package they put it in. But this next article kind of summarizes this portion of their evil plan to change the world. The Great Reset is about multinational corporate stakeholders at the WEF, controlling as many elements of planetary life as they possibly can, from the digital data humans produce to each morsel of food we eat. So they want to control the food that you eat, and they want to control your financial activity. All right. And that's where the digital part comes in, right? They want us all on these CBDCs and government-controlled digital coins where they can track every aspect of your life. And they will control those digital tokens. So if you try to engage in any aspect of life that they don't approve of, they will cut you off. And that is the real evil of the CBDCs that are coming down the road. listen, you have to be aware of what's going on. They are trying to control every aspect of our lives, and they know exactly where the pressure points are: our food and our money. The WEF describes itself as the digital platform for public-private cooperation that creates partnerships between corporations, politicians, intellectuals, scientists, and other leaders of society to define, discuss, and advance key issues on the global agenda. So this is a small group of elitists, unelected elitists, okay, who want to control your lives. That one line that they're famous for, you will own nothing and you will like it. Well, listen, they will own everything. That's what they want. They want to own everything. They don't want you owning anything. They want you to be a slave to them. Okay, and that brings us to the newest member to this evil elitist cabal, Rishi Sunak, the shiny new Prime Minister of the UK. Now, this guy is a piece of work, and he is the newest poster boy for the WEF. Now, he will never talk too publicly about his connection to WEF because that would be too obvious, right? But he does have direct connections to WEF, and his policies reflect it. It is particularly reflected in his rush to convert the UK financial system from the traditional fiat system into the electronic system, CBDCs. I want you to listen to this speech that he made.
Today, I'm proud to say that under the UK's presidency, the group of the world's 7 most advanced economies, the G7, is launching a set of public policy principles for retail central bank digital currencies. It would be issued directly by a central bank, like the Bank of England in the UK. And governments and central banks across the world are working together. These decisions raise important questions about the reshaping of our economy. We're excited to be taking a leading role with G7 members in publishing this exploratory work, bringing money and finance into the 21st century.
Okay, and in an article, they explained his plan this way. The new UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak issued support and a new focus on the cryptocurrency sector Monday, as shared by Bitcoin Magazine. He explained that the central bank digital currencies could be a digital version of money, a bit like a digital banknote that could be used alongside physical notes and coins. Remember, these CBDCs are not like Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. These CBDCs will be centralized instead of decentralized like Bitcoin is. They will be centralized and they will be programmable. That means they can control what you spend your money on, okay? If they don't want you buying cigarettes, they'll put that in the code. If they don't want you buying a car that burns gasoline, they'll put that in the code. If they find out that you use your money to donate to a political party that they don't like, they will cut you off. This is what CBDCs are. It's evil, and you have to fight against it. Now, it's also worth mentioning that Sunak has direct connection to WEF through his family ties. He married into money, okay? He is one of the wealthiest people in the UK. His father-in-law was the founder of a very large Indian data information company called Infosys. And Infosys has big contracts with WEF and with the UK. And that company will benefit directly with the advent of a CBDC in the UK. I mean, corruption left and right. I mean, how do these people get elected? I mean, these people are slick, but he is the newest stooge of WEF, and he is now the Prime Minister of the UK. Not to even mention the king over there, King Charles, who's actually largely credited with the term the Great Reset. Okay, he's credited with introducing that phrase to the WEF. So the point I want to get across here in this video is that if you don't think that the WEF is making concerted efforts to penetrate all of the world governments around the world in order to implement their policies, you're wrong. And that's not conspiracy theory. I just showed you a bunch of facts. Don't take my word for any of this. You have all of these actual world leaders who are members of the WEF. They have direct ties to WEF, right? Matter of fact, you haven't heard Klaus Schwab mention how in Canada, half of Trudeau's cabinets are all members of WEF. Okay, and he's bragging about it. He's proud of it. He used the word penetrated. They penetrated these governments. Okay, that one word should tell you everything about the designs they have on our world. And listen, their reach is so pervasive now, and they have so many acolytes in key positions around the world. I don't know, it might be too late to do something about it, but I want you to be aware of it, and I want you to resist it at every possible turn. When you go to vote for somebody, for example, and you find out they've got ties with WEF, that candidate should automatically be disqualified from holding public office. Even there, though, the problem is a lot of these people are appointees or they're bureaucrats. They're built in the bureaucracies of all of our countries. So the first thing you have to do is you have to be aware of what's going on. And the second thing you do is anything you can do to resist it, you should be doing. And one of the main things you can do is check with whatever bank you're doing business with and ask them whether they have a policy of using ESG scores in order to determine credit. If they do, even if you don't use them for that, fire that bank and find a bank that does not. Because that's one thing you can do. ESG, ESG, okay, that's social credit system, okay? That's communism. That's oppression. That's China. That's where they're going. You have to resist these people at every turn. You know, Klaus Schwab is the most evil person in the world. Now, Rob Russ says it's Putin. I think it's Klaus Schwab. We'll have to agree to disagree on that one. So don't buy any of that laboratory produced meat. Okay, don't buy anything, don't buy any artificial meat. Buy real meat, buy naturally grown vegetables and fruits. Get your money out of the bank if you as much as you can. Get some gold and silver and join the Hey Ed WhatsApp group. Okay, join my group. I'll have the link to my email below. Send me an email and I'll send you a link for the Hey Ed WhatsApp group. Wonderful group of people where we talk about these kind of topics and ways to secure our future and by ways to extract ourselves from the traditional financial system as much as we can. If you don't mind, please give my video a like. It doesn't cost anything. And subscribe if you haven't. And give me a comment. Edward Anderson signing out.
Copy that.